Thank you so much, you and the Night in the Music. We're going to continue with our version of You Don't Know What Love Is. What love is until you've learned the meaning of the blues, till you've lost the love you had to lose. No, you don't know what love is. You don't know how lips hurt until you've kissed and had to pay the cost, till you've flipped your heart and you have lost. No, you don't know what love is. Do you know how lost heart feels? The sound of reminiscing. They're gonna lose their taste for kissing. You don't know how hearts burn for a love that cannot live yet never dies, till you face the dawn with sleepless eyes. No, you don't know what love is. Oh, the tears lose their taste of kissing. You don't know how hearts burn for a love that cannot live, yet never, never, never dies. Till you face the dawn with sleepless eyes. No, no, you don't know what love is. No, 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 you don't know what love is. No, 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 just don't know what love is. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. We're going to stop sharing. And then we're going to go back to our Facebook. Hi, Joyce Glasgow. How are you? So my let's see, my guests today. I'm just getting up my YouTube chat. Whoa. My guests today are Leslie Lewis and Gerard Hagen. And hello, or should I say
Hi.
bonjour or bonne nuit? Yeah, so this is great. So let's see. I'll just do a little bit of my own personal relationship here. Leslie, and Gerard lived in Los Angeles, Orange County, and were musicians there. And Leslie and I, in those days, you would, the singers were kind of, no matter if it was Orange County in LA, which was a bit of a distance, we would share gigs, or we would know about each other, or, somehow bump into each other. We were working a lot back then. And so I always,
Living in Sherman Oaks in those days when I knew you, when I met you. I was living in the valley.
no wonder. Okay, I thought it was Orange. I thought you were in Orange County already.
No, not yet.
Oh, well, that makes sense. So, yeah, and so I always knew Leslie as a great singer and a great business person, really taking care of business. And then, years go by and you bump into each other and you whatever. And then all of a sudden, Leslie moved to Paris. That for me, it was all of a sudden. I'm sure it wasn't for you.
It really happened very quickly, to be honest. I think both Gerard and I had been in California for 20 plus years,
Yeah.
Almost 30.
almost 30 years of our lives. And then when we decided to make the move, it happened very fast.
How did you guys
Well,
meet?
we actually met. Leslie took. Well, I don't know if you knew this or not, but Leslie, for like 10 or more years, she played piano at the Ritz-Carlton for the afternoon tea.
The one in down in Laguna, or
No, in Pasadena.
In Pasadena.
But I also played the piano in the bar and I sang, so I would go back and forth. And then I also played the piano at at the Pelican Hill Resort.
Wow. I
Yeah.
did not
and
remember
some other places.
at all. No. That's amazing. So you're a pretty good piano player?
No, not at all. Just very fortunate.
She
Very good for afternoon tea.
she was she developed her own way of accompanying herself and playing, and so I was teaching a jazz piano class at Saddleback College in Mission Viejo, and she actually took my class.
Yeah, because I basically play by ear, and I wanted to learn how to play like jazz musicians play. I couldn't accompany myself the way I sing.
Yeah.
So, and jazz musicians words and all of that, and I don't. I can read music, but I wanted to, play with the more rhythmically.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, why don't you just go and take a class and learn how to do that?
Did it work?
Well, I fell in love. And I still play like I played.
Yeah.
I did learn some things for
Yeah,
sure.
here's what she learned. She learned marry a piano player. That's what she learned. But anyway, so she took the class, and then after that, we started working together. We started playing a duo gig at this place in Laguna Beach called French 75. And we were both working a lot. Even back then, this was around 2005, and there were still quite a few gigs that you could do, and we were sort of playing in the same circles, but we had never really met each other. And so anyway, we started working together. A few years after that, we made a recording, and and now here we are. How many? Well, since we met in 2005,
Yeah.
and then we got married in 2009, and came here in 2012. And
Pretty quick, you guys.
I can't believe we've been here for 10 years plus.
yeah,
It's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that is amazing. I was lucky enough to go to Paris last month and went and saw them play at Chez Papa, and it was really great. And we we literally had you couldn't get closer actually. Here was Leslie singing, and here was Gerard playing. The bass player was here, and we were sitting right there. It was great. Pretty thrilling, actually. Oh, and by the way, another singer who married a piano player is here, Cheryl Barnes.
Hi,
so
Hi, Cheryl.
we've seen them here in
Yes,
Paris.
they come to see us all the time. We miss you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Joyce. So today is literally the 500th day.
Oh,
Wow.
we are honored.
Well, congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, Kathy.
It's a great thing you're doing.
Yes, really.
You
Thank you for inviting.
are 500. Definitely significant. Yeah, I booked people today and tomorrow without really kind of thinking. So Wednesday I'm going to have this special show on, to celebrate. Oh, Cheryl said they'll be there in May.
Oh, cool.
Great.
We'll look forward to seeing you
Yeah,
guys.
I hope it's the second half of May.
So you know what's funny, Kathy is and I mean, this sounds like it's a joke, but it's not. We actually hang with more Californians in Paris than we did when we lived in California.
Who else?
Well, I mean, we all get busy and we're gigging and we're working and doing whatever we're doing,
Yeah.
and it's difficult to find time to get together socially with other musicians. When you have the time, your colleagues are working, and then vice versa. And so it's actually been, Paris is one of those cities that a lot of people come through on tour, and a lot of people just come to for a visit. And so we actually, see quite a few people, and we've actually made a number of friendships with people that are from the States, and they come to Paris once, twice, three times a year, and we'll get together, or they'll come to hear us perform someplace or whatever. So it's been kind of a blessing in a way in that sense.
Funny, isn't it? I mean, same with this show. Who do I sit down and talk with for 2 hours? Not many people, I mean, Cheryl and I can do that for sure. And, but most of the time, even the people you see regularly, you're seeing them because you're working together,
Exactly. Exactly. And that's exactly, and the thing is, it's a different thing in LA because, when you have a night off and you want to go hear somebody, you got to really want to go. You know what I mean? Because so often, you don't have that many nights off, and a lot of times it's nice just to be sedentary and not have to get in your car and drive, for an
Yeah.
hour or whatever.
I actually
You
feel
know,
that going on right now. I feel like it's an interesting feel that's happening, at least here. It feels like people are having little parties and get-togethers, small on the smaller side, of course, and but also people. It's just people are. It's cold here. It's actually like kind of wintry, and I think people just feel like. Also, I guess people are getting older too. My crowd, so they're kind of going. I think I'll just stay. I'll stay home tonight instead of going out. Um,
yeah.
I still go out quite a bit and hear music because there's so much great music happening in LA now. So it's hard to
But
ignore.
it's also a way to stay connected. Typically when I would make the effort to go out and hear some music, I almost always came home, and I didn't go for this reason, but it just happens. I almost always came home with some kind of work.
I know.
Like you go someplace, you're listening to music, you run into somebody else. Oh, hey, can you sub my gig? Or whatever. These things, they happen because you actually showed up,
Yeah.
and people see you, and so from that standpoint, it's a cool thing too.
Yeah.
Beyond just hear the great music.
Yeah, I agree with you. I always would tell people that when they came to town, go out, be social. And I mean, you're going to get connected with people that way. If you don't, then it's really hard. People have to meet you, they have to feel comfortable with you, maybe hear you, and you build up
We
a relationship.
here for what was it, about 6 or 7 months. We and I'm not joking. We literally went out every night,
Wow.
every single night. The thing about Paris is, uh, every night of the week there's one, two, or three jam sessions to be found, and oftentimes there are specific ones that are vocal jam sessions, and so we used to go to those a lot, and I don't know. Would you say it helped a lot? I
Well, it
mean,
introduced us to
we
the
met a lot of
musicians
people.
around town, and
Yeah,
that was really the point, was
right.
to get to know other musicians,
Yeah,
because we didn't know anyone or anything when
right.
we moved here.
We were like, I mean, amazingly
We
clueless.
really were. are.
When we got here, we were so unbelievably clueless. It was just when I think back on it, like just some important things, but also some silly things like we had been here for a couple weeks. And we realized, okay, we got to do some laundry. So we find a laundromat, and here, normally you just throw a coin in and you do the thing. But here, for the dryers, there's a place on the wall, and you actually have a specific slot for a specific dryer that's on the other side of the room.
Wow.
And so we were trying to figure it all out. We're reading the directions that were painted on the wall, and we're reading them in French, and we're doing the best we can, and we figure it out. We get our laundry done. It's like 6 hours later, but we get our laundry done, and so we're like doing the Rocky thing, and as we turn around to walk out the door, we see that on the opposite wall they have all the directions written in English. So that kind of stuff happened a lot. We came home from the grocery store one time with toothpaste that was made for denture wearers who smoke.
Wasn't very good at that point.
Yeah, clearly.
But I'm happy to say we have our own washer and dryer now.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to you about this, but we'll repeat it. Why did you decide to go to Paris?
You got it.
Well, we always tell this story differently, but I think when things started to quiet down in California,
Well, after the economy crashed.
Yeah, we started doing all these gigs where we were driving so far to work for so little, and it wasn't very artistic. The gigs weren't that artistic or challenging. So we thought, where can we go where they really appreciate jazz, our music, and where your age doesn't matter, what you look like doesn't matter. It's all about the art. And Gerard wanted to go to New York, and I was really born there, New Jersey. And I kind of felt like if we went to New York, we'd probably have to live in New Jersey again. And I knew he wouldn't want to do that. And New York is very, very expensive. And so he said, well, where would you like to go? And I've always wanted to live in Europe. And I don't know how I knew this, but I knew that Paris was very singer friendly. And so I suggested that we try Paris, and my father had a huge love affair with France. So growing up, it was kind of in our home a lot. So I thought, well, what about Paris? So he said, well, let's go and see. So we came here for 10 days?
Yeah, about 2 weeks we came here.
Just to see if we felt we could make a living here. And in those 2 weeks, like Gerard said, we went out every night introducing ourselves to people, getting to know the city and to see how much work was around. And at the end of the 2 weeks, we decided to just do it. So we went home and got a lawyer.
No. We got a lawyer here first and then went home is what happened. But anyway.
Lawyer for what?
We got
to get legal.
We got help with our immigration.
Yeah, we knew we had to get legal. So
it used to be, even back in the even as recently as the 90s, people just could come here and they could just kind of like stay under the radar.
Right.
The thing is, now it's way more difficult to do that.
Yes, and we have to have health care and
if you're gonna
live here, we have to do it
life,
right. We wanted to do it right.
You need to have residency papers and a social security number and get you know, basically what happens is that um, you have the hours that you work go towards your being accepted in the healthcare system, and so you know you want to be performing gigs where the government knows you're getting paid,
Yeah.
as opposed to getting paid cash on the table, because that's how you can qualify for health insurance, and how you can, um, uh, just, I mean, it's just a better way to be here. It
Yeah.
just is.
Yeah. So then,
So
wow, I just can't. I mean, it's a little hard to imagine moving so, dramatically, like your stuff and
It
finding
was a
a
big.
place to live.
Well, we sold everything. We didn't. We
Oh,
sold cars. We sold our home. We took the important things and put them in storage, and we literally came here with 2 suitcases and nothing else. Because we also knew that we would be renting in the beginning furnished, so we didn't, want to be loaded down with a lot of things. So we
wow.
really. Gerard asked me if I could get all my things in one suitcase.
and she did.
See
She
what I mean?
did.
She's very smart. What
But
did
I
you
did it.
what did you say? It was a big suitcase?
It was a big suitcase.
Oh God, I remember when I moved here from from Boston, and really a main reason I moved was to get away from my mother because my mother was um, she was very manipulative. And I just, I was such a free spirit. I was 20 or 21, and I was just like, oh God, I got to get away from here. So I moved, and I told her initially that I was just, trying it out, just moving for a little bit. But when she came to the airport and she saw what I was bringing, she just was like, what's going on? And I was like, well, I just said I would take everything. And you know, that was it. Stayed on the West Coast. Yeah, but I guess
Yes.
Yeah.
must be, gosh, must have taken you a while to kind of settle in and stuff. But however, you did sell everything, so that's huge.
I tell people, that the process of putting yourself in a new situation, you learn so much about yourself, and you learn. I mean, I felt the same way when I moved to California, and you probably did too, because LA is way different from Boston. It's a whole other thing,
Yeah.
and when I got to California, it took me a while. I grew up in the Midwest, and so when I got to California, I might as well have moved to another country. I mean, of course, I didn't have to deal with the language issue or anything like that, but pretty much everything else was a sort of brand new thing for me, and it was a really good experience to be in a new situation in a city where there's virtually people from all over the world.
Yeah.
Where I came from, everybody was the same,
Yeah.
and you get to California, and there's virtually any place you go, there's little Tokyo, little Armenia, little this, little that. There's all different places that you can go and experience, and different things, and people think differently. And so we came here, and it was the same thing, in but in maybe a little bit more of a macro kind of a way.
Yeah. Well, as regarding that, like the people and the people that you deal with, how uh, how do you see it different? How do you see the people, the community in Paris as different?
Well, Uh, what do you think? I'm doing all the talking. You
That's
should-
right. I think people here are more open to artistic expression. You don't get labeled so much. There's more freedom here, from my perspective, because I discovered so many things about myself that I don't think I would have discovered had I stayed in the United States.
Really? Like,
There is,
can you give me like one thing, for instance?
um, with my improvisation, for instance, there's a big African influence here in France, and that rhythmic thing and the expression, the ability to just let go of all of your self-consciousness and just go with something inside of yourself that you didn't really know you had. I'm not explaining it very well, but
Yes,
I
you are,
never
actually.
I never felt free in the States to do that.
Yeah.
I was always big on improvisation, but here it's a whole other level of the things that I've discovered about myself really astound me. In a good way and a bad way, but it's all good because it's who I am,
Yeah.
and I mean that in a humble way, because I'm not always loving what I do a lot, but it's a part of me that I've discovered,
Yeah.
and that has to be a positive thing
Yeah.
for
Well,
myself.
I actually, listening to you, Scat, I think you described it very well because that's what I heard. I was very impressed with your freedom and wasn't just your freedom, there's another quality. It's kind of like which is akin to who I always thought you were anyway. It's like this forward, responsible, knowing what you want and going to get it, that kind of a person. And that's actually what I heard in your scatting too. And your singing, but I mean, singing the songs too. But yeah, so how you described it actually was, I think, great. It actually is exactly what I heard actually. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Well, that's
impressed.
and the audiences here, they're really amazing. I mean, they come out on a Tuesday night and pack a place, and they are sitting there anxious to see what you have to tell them in your story.
Yeah,
I never really felt that in Los Angeles,
yeah,
and I don't. I'm sure it's there. And honestly, if I'm to be fair, I'm doing more concerts here than I ever did there.
Well, see, that's
So,
just
and
it.
I was
Yeah.
mostly in clubs and restaurants there. Here, I'm always doing a concert, so it's a whole different thing.
I think
To be fair,
I think if you're at like Catalina,
yeah,
Right.
people are there
Sure.
to hear what
Absolutely.
you have to
Yeah.
offer.
yeah,
And I wasn't doing those kinds of things when I was in California. I was
Yeah.
mostly doing clubs and restaurants,
and
Yeah.
hotels.
and hotels.
There's also, like you and I were speaking when we were in Paris. It's like the fact that you can do concert after concert after concert, you know, so many. It's the experience of doing it that makes you better and makes you, more willing and
Right.
like
How you grow.
yeah, for me, a concert every now and then, and maybe a club, in between, or yeah, and so it takes it. I think it takes a little longer, and you're kind of, as a singer or an artist, you're kind of dying for that to happen more, and of
Yeah.
course, it doesn't happen as much.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
The festival thing here too is fantastic. And I think I shared this with you when you came to hear us. One of the really special things about being here is how easy it is to travel from country to country, from place to place. It really is amazing how you get to see the world.
Yeah,
That's been a treasure.
And you guys are so, so fortunate you have each other. Not only are you in love, but you also, you know, singer, piano player who play the same
Yeah.
music, play for each other. I mean, it's kind of heaven, isn't it?
Well, he's amazing.
Well, it is. It's funny, and I think I can say this because we know that that there are a lot of really great singers in LA. And in some cases, there are singers in the studios that I'll never know about who are singing great, and you know um, but there also are a lot of not so great singers in LA. And unfortunately, for most of my time there, they were the great ones already had their pianists that they really liked to play with, So I was getting calls from well, let's just put, I avoided working with a lot of singers in town, in before I met her. So I guess my point for this whole conversation was I was actually fortunate that she she kind of had to like wait for me to figure out how to play for a singer because I hadn't done much. So when we started working together, um, oftentimes, let's just say that I guessed wrong when I was trying to figure out what she was going to do next. And she put up with that until I got it together, actually learned what to do, and it is it's a whole other thing to play, and but when it's a really great singer, then you don't have to worry about anything. You can just make music, and life is much more simple then.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been our story. It took it, I had to figure things out, and it took me a couple of years really to really like understand what she was doing and how she would like things to go, and tempos, it's a whole other thing. It's a whole other thing. If you're a piano player, you play certain tempos for certain tunes, but if you actually have to get the words out, that's a whole other issue.
Yeah, and not to mention different keys, right?
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure.
that wasn't that big of a thing. That's a whole other, I think, art that's kind of going away.
Uh-huh.
That so often now, I see pianists, and truth be told, like I'll do this myself too because I've gotten lazy. Where you just like take your phone out and look at the tune in whatever key you're going to play it in. We would have never done that. Like, what I mean? That you couldn't have, as a piano player in LA, when I got to town, you just were expected to know to play tunes in any key. And singers, now a singer needs to have a book. You're not a professional singer if you don't have a book. Well, when I got to town, singers didn't have books. They
I
just,
did.
well, yeah, you had a book of like 1,200 tunes. I mean, but I mean, literally, she had a book that was like that. It was like the manual to fly like a space shuttle or something. I mean,
I remember those days. I also have a book, a big book, and I finally just got so tired of carrying it around, you know.
well, well, anyway, it was, I mean, it used to be that a singer just looked at you and said it had to be you and G, and you went up, and
Yeah,
if you couldn't do that, then you didn't get hired back,
yeah,
but I think those days are gone. First of all, even back then, we were playing a lot more.
yeah,
And so, if you have to do it every night of the week, 3 or 4 nights a week, you can keep in practice.
That's the training.
Right.
We were very blessed, all of us musicians in those days, to have those gigs where you had a 5 night a week thing. That doesn't happen anymore.
yeah,
Right.
That was really a blessing.
yeah,
Yeah, it was.
That was where you worked everything out.
And that's another thing too that I was going to say when you asked about the difference between here in LA. Leslie and I, we say this all the time that are so grateful for our years in LA
yeah,
because the level of musicianship there is unbelievably high, and just to see what other like people, you don't. There's a lot of great musicians here, but like for example, the LA musicians. Not, I mean, I'm sure it's the same in New York too, or Chicago. But those guys when they sight read a chart, they pride themselves on being on perfection. Like they expect it. They hold
yeah,
themselves accountable to be perfect. They don't do that here.
yeah, right.
When you chart here, people don't hold themselves accountable to do it perfectly. It's so. If you haven't been around it, and then it's easy to think that it doesn't exist. But so I'm grateful, and so is Leslie for being in Southern California and being around all those great players and seeing how high they set the bar.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's pretty amazing, especially when you do go out of the country and then you see how what the response is. I've been to Japan a lot, and yeah, it's just very, um, you know, you are admired and honored and paid attention to, and it's you kind of get it's like, oh yeah. Oh, yeah, I am pretty good. Yeah. Because, as you say, there's so many people here. We're just kind of working along, and you have to kind of
Right.
go with that struggle in your head, which is interesting. Yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead.
no, I mean, I think I told this to Leslie too. I often dreamed of moving to Europe, and then, now I sit back and I'm looking at my life because I'm not young and I don't have the same um, energy level, as I did way back then, even 20 years ago, when I was before the computers were really up and hugely running, and I was sending out snail packages to Europe, and I would set up like a week tour where I could teach, could do a workshop, I could do gigs, and I could come home with, something like $700. And so, but I thought, oh, it'd be great to actually live over there. But then it just didn't happen in my life, And so that's okay because it is what it is, and the lessons are all around us. We're always learning. We don't have to do something that we didn't do to learn. We're always learning.
Exactly. And also, you know, for us, it was a good call, but I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that we came here as a couple.
Yeah.
You know, that makes things a lot easier, and we're both. Well, Leslie's more even keeled than I am, but we're both pretty mellow people, and so I mean, there's a lot of stuff here that if you were a type A personality, your head would just explode, you know, because this is not a situation where like you can come in and be aggressive and people will respond to that. I mean, they just don't. They don't respond at all to to people who are loud and aggressive and whatever. Like and we see oftentimes where everything we learned about the music business in LA we have to forget here because it's just not the same. It's just not the same. It's
the culture is different.
Yeah, it's a whole different culture.
Yes.
And so, like for example, here, or in well, pretty much anywhere in America, if you can fill a room, whoever it owns that room is going to be happy.
Yeah.
Here you can fill the room and the owner will like we had this experience where we had a really nice gig that we had only been living here for about 6 months, and we had a really nice gig and filled the room. Great night, people loved it, and it was in the winter time. And we finished, and we knew the owner of the club pretty well because we had been going to jam sessions to this same room for a while. And so we said, what do you think? When can we come back? And he said, oh, you can't possibly come back here again before the summer. So like, okay, so here's one room in town where we're lucky if we can play there 2 nights a year.
Oh, wow.
2 nights a year. Yeah. And that's with having had a really nice evening and filled the room, and whatnot. So
Didn't fit his idea of what he wanted.
no, it was filling the room to him wasn't the most important thing.
Yeah.
That's what was so odd about it was, because we actually went back there the next weekend and he had a band. I'm not kidding. He had a band with a guy with like a washboard, doing this, doing like manouche, traditional jazz. And there were like 8 people in the room, and the guy's sitting there with a big smile on his face, happy as a clam. So
Yeah.
Leslie and I looked at each other. We said, "We have no idea how the music business works here. We have no."
Yeah, well,
That's
like you said, it's a different culture. Things are held in reverence in a different way, and yeah, it's more laid
definitely.
back and more. Yeah, it's definitely different. I think that's why actually I wanted to move to Europe because of that feeling of people's perspectives, kicked back. Yeah, just whatever comes along, you work with, and yeah, it's well, I don't know. I'm getting tired of like really working too hard. I'm not the only one. I keep talking to a lot of people out here who are feeling the same way. I mean, the older we get, that's happening. I have a friend on Taylor Hatch who's well, you already answered, Leslie, you answered what was one life. Oh, well, he said, between the both of you, what was one life-changing experience you had that influenced your creativity or musicality here, in Europe? But Leslie kind of talked about that, not really one life, but she was talking, Taylor, I think before you came on, how her singing has opened up. She's because she feels like she's allowed to do whatever she wants to do. How about you,
Yeah,
Joe?
Well,
your playing has completely changed.
I'm not sure. Yeah, my playing changed quite a bit, but my playing changed quite a bit because of the fact that we do a lot more concerts now than I did when I lived in California. I lived a lot of the work that I did. Were restaurants and hotels and private parties, solo piano. Played a lot of solo piano gigs in California in people's homes, and so in that instance, really what you're trying to do is just make sure they don't hate you. You know what I mean? Like you're just trying to play music that fits the room that people will like, and of course, I'm a jazz musician, so I always played standards, you know, but I was, I'm not going to be sitting in some guy's living room while everyone's wearing cocktail dresses, hammering out McCoy Tyner tunes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me coming here and playing concerts, I had to shift my mindset uh, because now people were coming to hear something, and I needed to have something to offer them, which was way beyond what you would do if you were playing for a private party in some
To
guy's
get your
living room.
performance days
You
together.
know,
Yeah.
and so and plus Leslie was making like some uh, like d- her basically her vocabulary was changing
Yeah.
when she was scattered, and so she was like going in sort of leaps and bounds in this direction, and I felt like I needed to like keep pace. I needed to catch up because she's out on these concerts, singing her tail off, and I when the scat solo's over, then I got to have something,
Yeah.
and so,
Interesting.
I would say that the experience of going to work with the idea that that you have to offer something. Like I tell my students now, we say, we're giving a performance, which implies you have something to give, you have something to offer.
Yeah.
And and so I would say that that's the answer to that question. I'm not sure. The only other thing I would say is, in France, there's a whole school of classical piano that has influenced a lot of the musicians here, where they play with a specific fingering kind of thing that like for example, if you listen to a lot of impressionist Debussy or Ravel or Fauré, you see that that's a different way of approaching the piano as compared to if you were playing Brahms or Schubert, and that has also influenced a lot of the jazz guys here. And so I would say not that it's influenced me per se, but it's just something that I'm aware of, that a lot of the pianists. I mean, there's a lot of piano players in this town. There's a lot of them, and you know, and a lot of them are influenced by that.
Yeah. Hi, Simone. Simone Gubbiotti. Ciao. Congrats. Oh, ciao. Nice to get to know you. He's a musician in Europe as well. He's a guitarist who I interviewed last week. Um, let's listen to some music. So, shall I listen to an audio or watch a video? What do you think?
Let's do an audio.
Audio? Okay, and which one? Spring is here or Photographia?
Spring is here. And by the way, this one was arranged by Jerry Califf, who lives not far from you
Really?
in studio.
Cool. You know, I keep wanting to ask him to be on the show because
Yes.
You should.
I think he'd be a really good person to be on the show, you know. So we're listening to Photographia, right?
Spring is here.
Oh, spring is here. Hello. I knew that. Here we go. Come on, baby. There we go. I think we'll look at a few pictures too. That was really pretty, beautiful.
Thank you. We couldn't hear it.
You couldn't hear it? Oh, I wish you had said something. Maybe nobody could hear it. So let's see. Did anybody say anything? Can't hear the music. Let's try that again, shall we? Because I did something. So here we go. We're going to do it again.
Spring is here. Why doesn't my heart go dancing? Spring is here. Why isn't the waltz entrancing? No desire, no ambition leads me. It's because nobody leads me. Spring is here. Why doesn't the breeze delight me? Stars appear. Why doesn't the night invite me? It's because nobody
Yeah. Okay. So that was cool. So that's a really nice arrangement. It's very comfortable, right? It's very natural to sing.
That
Really
was
good.
Rob Lockhart.
Gary
Yeah,
Foster.
Gary Foster
Gary
on
Foster.
saxophone.
You said the arrangement was Jerry Califf.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very
Yeah,
lovely.
it was really a good arrangement. Very very comfortable, right? Switching time
Yeah,
stuff.
we had a band with Rob Lockhart, Gary Foster, um, Chuck Manning, Gerard, Dominic Genova, and
Jerry.
and I said, yeah, Jerry.
Mhm.
And that was a really important part of my growth working with those guys.
All great horn
Um,
players. Who was on bass?
Dominic Genova,
Oh, Dominic Genova. Right.
and these are all LA guys, and who worked with Gerard for many years. And Gerard brought me into the fold there, and I grew a lot working with them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're all so good. I have a I actually have a band with Chuck Manning that works from time to time called The Moment. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but and I love how he's really sensitive to me. Like sometimes we'll hold a note out together, as long as we
Well,
both.
He's
yeah,
a lot.
one of the things that Leslie started doing, and she did this on her own. We used to play this gig one Sunday night a month,
Uh-huh.
and
With those guys.
we basically, Leslie and I just used it like a workshop kind of gig. We would write arrangements and things, and have these guys come and play. And Leslie used to um, start interacting with them. So she would be trading fours with Chuck or with Gary Foster or Ron Stout, whoever was there, and she never ever really I don't, what's the word, back down or anything. She just sort of like started doing it, and I thought that was a pretty cool thing because she hadn't really been doing at least from my perspective, she hadn't really been doing a lot of that. And so when she was trading, eights with these guys, I was pretty impressed by that.
I had no idea what I was doing.
Why do you say that? I mean, you probably did by then.
Kathy. I just
What?
throw. This is how I operate. I just throw myself into situations and let it go. It's like the fame thing, or the flash dance thing. The minute I hear the beat, I just jump in, and with no preconceived ideas of what's gonna happen, about what's gonna happen, or I just let it go.
Yeah. Well, it seems to work. Right?
Yeah, you learn a lot. You
Yeah.
do.
What other countries do you guys like to travel in for both for music or just for pleasure?
Italy,
Really,
Italy,
with that, I mean,
number one.
it's just, I mean, we've done quite a few gigs there, but mostly because we've done a couple of cruise ship gigs, and they always go into port in Italy, and um, but the it's just such a great country. The people are warm, and the food is incredible,
This is beautiful.
and
Everything about it is beautiful.
it's a really lovely country.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's not far from here.
yeah, it is. It's
So we
really.
try.
But I'm also big fans of Portugal.
Portugal.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I think Portugal is a little bit more. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily. It's like California, but it's got a little bit of that vibe going.
Yeah.
where
California vibe.
a little bit. I guess because
Laid back.
it's a little bit relaxed. The people are also lovely people, and and the beach is like a big deal there. People love the beach.
Yeah.
One thing I want, Gerard mentioned the cruise thing. We have a new project, a fairly new project, with a six-piece band that we call Funky Ella,
Oh, I saw that.
and we've been invited to do a cruise in May. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really, really looking forward to that.
So is
That's how
that music that Ella sang and but made funky, or what? Why is it called Funky Ella?
Tradition meets groove and meets R&B, perhaps, and so we're somewhere in the middle. It's not necessarily Ella or Aretha, but even though we do all of those things,
Yeah.
but it's the combination of where we came from, my jazz tradition, and also the more funky pop groovy stuff that we kind of have put together. We have piano, bass, drums, guitar, percussion, and myself, and it's a blast. And we do everything. And we were invited to go on this cruise, and I just
basically what we do is we just take a lot of the music that we liked when we were kids
and we rearrange
and
it.
we rearrange it to take advantage of like the percussion, and so it's heavily oriented towards groove or towards like maybe Brazilian or kinds
Yeah,
of
we do a
things
lot
or
of Latin
whatever.
stuff, and
We'll take like a Bob Dylan tune and it'll end up we basically just take the music that we loved when we were younger, and we sort of reimagined it, and
yeah, we also have a
yeah.
Nina Simone show thing going with that.
It's
You know,
what I've noticed here, that's one of the big differences here as opposed to in America, is like for example, they don't associate tunes necessarily with a time frame. Like for example,
Yeah.
they won't hear Body and Soul and think that it was music that their grandparents listened to when their grandparents were young. They don't have that association with it at all.
Yeah.
It's just another tune to them.
Yeah.
And so here, when you play, first of all, when you play songs from the Great American Songbook, what we do in America is, we're always looking for new songs that come from that era. Like we're trying to find things that aren't done all the time, and here they actually prefer things that are done all the time because they know them.
Yeah.
And so, if you're a singer here, if you are touring through here, and you find yourself like needing an encore and you haven't prepared anything, take out Summertime, because they'll love it. They'll know it. They'll love it. And, um,
we've never done that.
of course, it's not.
What song was that? Yeah, that's interesting. That's kind of, I guess Japan is like that too. And they really do, the audiences really love the standards. When
They,
I was traveling
they,
over there, yeah, I was traveling with a pianist who lived there, and he was a very modern player. And I think it drove him crazy, over the years, like that he just playing the same music. So we would take standards, but we would play them very out, and we actually got requests to play standards, like after we would play standards. It was like, oh, yeah, it kind of reminds you of a standard, but it's like they can't relate to it, right? So they wanted more straight. Yeah.
You can do out stuff here.
Yeah.
They'll go with that. Audiences here
When
will.
I saw David Links, he's really,
Mhm,
he's very different, right?
mhm.
Yeah. I forget the
Yeah,
pianist who works with him. Andre, I think. Andre.
I don't know. I don't know who works with
Yeah.
him, but audiences here will accept the avant-garde stuff. I mean, um, uh, I don't know, way more than they will in America.
They
Yeah.
do a lot of homage here. I mean, tributes here are huge.
Oh,
And I'm telling you, Nina Simone is the queen here.
that's cool.
It is cool. It is cool. And I find it very interesting that, of course, Ella is big, but very few of the vocalists have ever even heard of Carmen McRae. Can you
Really?
believe that? Yes.
No.
My personal favorite, but they don't know who she is.
Carmen is like the
And
queen of Fraser.
I she is
Exactly.
the storyteller queen,
Yeah.
and they don't know who she is.
Wow.
And
So
Simone
weird.
is there either a little bit, but Nina Simone and Billie Holiday, that's who they love here.
Thank you.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Sorry.
it's and it's interesting to see which songs. In America, you do certain songs, everybody's like ah, and then if you try to do that here, they just look at you like you're nuts. So the circulation of songs and the popularity of them is a lot different too.
definitely,
So it's very interesting.
definitely.
That's so
Um,
wild, man. That's really wild. Yeah. I'm
it's
surprised about the Carmen thing. That is very.
I know it. It's a whole wealth of music that I can bring to my students'
Yeah.
vocabulary, to their library because they never heard of her.
Speaking of students, do you enjoy teaching
Um,
there? Do you find the students are different there?
yes, they are.
definitely.
They are so different. Um, and I love them. They're very interesting,
They're
and
very
they're
earnest.
so interested in doing the work. You know,
Is that the thing
and
that you find different?
well, I don't. Yes, I mean, in California, you have to dress a certain way. You have to present yourself a certain way. You have to worry about how many people are going to come to the gig. You have all these extraneous things that you have to worry about. But here, it's simply about the music and about your artistry. And they are so hungry to learn our music, and they spend time on it.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. They want to do the homework,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful to teach people like that.
It's nice. Yeah, that's really gratifying as a teacher. Is that the same with the piano students?
Um, well, yes and no. It depends. Like I think for instrumentalists, it's maybe a little different. It's maybe a little bit more like it is in America, where like you'll have some students. I really don't do a lot of I don't really do private piano lessons anymore. I'm teaching at a college here, and I notice the students there. There's always, you know, 20-25% at the top who just I've had kids there who were drummers who came to me because they wanted to learn how to play changes. They
Yeah.
wanted to be able to play the tunes, not just play drums, but they want to understand the harmony. And of course, they're taking theory and they're taking harmony and all that, but they actually wanted lessons, me to show them like how they could voice these tunes,
Yeah, yeah.
because play them and hear them themselves, and
And as you said
so
before, they're coming from classical training, right?
for the most part, that's true.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the seriousness level is pretty high here with the students. But I have to be careful too, because, like, for example, in California, I was never teaching at the places where, like, Cal Arts or UCLA or USC, where they were drawing like the best people from the area. And my guess is those schools are filled with guys who are serious, who are putting in the work and putting in the hours, and
Yeah, that's true. That's true. My Taylor, my friend, online, he goes to UNT, and of course they're very serious there, But USC is, and all the places you mentioned, you know, they're there for the music. Yeah, they're
definitely.
there. Yeah, they're
And
there.
the faculty is incredible in those places.
Absolutely. Russell Ferrante, I was talking to him. He taught there for 20, 25 years, something like that. He just retired. I didn't even realize he had taught there that long, you know?
Yeah, I knew he had taught there. I didn't know for that long.
Yeah,
But Alan Pasqua's over there.
yeah.
Um, I mean,
Shelley
there's some
Berg
very
was there.
yeah, there's some
Yeah.
very serious musicians at those schools, and so and even Cal State Northridge has
Yeah.
got a lot of serious kids there. You know.
Yeah. Well, my friend Gary Fukushima, who's in my group with Chuck Manning, he teaches there. He's a really great teacher and great player. Um, I was thinking of playing another video.
Okay.
Let's see. How about the Sinner Man one?
That's with Funky Ella.
That's with our new group.
That's with the six-piece band.
It's kind of a collage of a recording session.
Okay, it's
So
like
you,
a teaser, yeah. All right. So, guys, I hope that the sound is good. I don't know why all of a sudden my sound might be weird, but anyway, let's just check that out. Thank you.
I'm so fucking tired. It's not
Where you gonna run to, cinnamon? Where you gonna run to, cinnamon? Where you gonna run to, all on that day? Well, I run to the rock. Please hide me. I run to the rock. Please hide me. I run to the rock. Please hide me. All on that day. Troubles cost the kingdoms. See how the rivers begin to rise. All of your wars and rumors, like the dragon's eyes. You know that king don't know the answer. He keep us all by his side. But I can remember saying, have you seen the child? Hey, hey, have you seen the child? Have you seen the child? Have you seen the bright light?
Cool. Now, so I see Jerry Califf's name there. So you're using him for.
I send all of our sound files back to LA for the mix and the mastering.
Well, that's
I you know, Jerry and I spent a lot of time over the years that we worked together mixing and mastering things, and you know, now I really don't, you know, we don't really have to be in the session together as much. Sometimes we'll do like a FaceTime or Skype, and we'll do a session together, but I'll just sort of tell him what I want. He knows what I like, and he starts mixing the thing, and he sends me the sound files, and we go back and forth. You know, that's the thing. The thing about LA is, you know, LA has the recording thing down like that. You know, there's 4 or 5 guys in town that you can go to, and you know that they know what an acoustic jazz group's supposed to sound like, and you're going to get a good, you know, a good recorded sounds from them, and they're going to know how to mix it. You know, like I hear things here that, you know, people we know that have recorded here. Here you can get a good recorded thing, and I'm sure you can. There are guys that can mix. I just haven't met them yet.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's just easier for me to just, you know, I send the files to Jerry, and he takes care of it, and he knows what I like, and he knows what to do, and you know, and he's a talented cat. You know, he's
Very
got
talented.
good ears.
Yeah, he's really talented, and he has a nice studio that he's had for a long time. He's good at it. Yeah, Leslie, I have to say your tone is great. Even you're so versatile. You can do anything. And we have several people who commented, sang it, Leslie, from Nora. Great vocal tone from Taylor. Yeah. Taylor is asking questions. He interviews people when they come to UNT, so he always throws up some questions for me. One that he threw up, which is, I think, would be a fun question, is do you have a story, both of you or either one of you, have a story of playing on a gig that was too funny? They're already laughing, so.
Well, okay, I have to, you know, I have to tell this. This is one of my favorite, and this goes
What
back.
is this?
So Leslie, first of all, Leslie's first.
Wait, does he mean in France or in general?
I think he just means in general, but
Oh,
I'm
okay.
telling this.
It
You're
could
gonna
be
tell
in
it.
general. Yeah, it could be
I'm
in
gonna leave.
general.
So Leslie started like soloing with her aunt's choir when she was 3 years old. So she had experience singing as a child, and so anyway, she's in grade school, and Leslie's father went to high school with Sarah Vaughan, and so he had all of these Sarah Vaughan records and Cleo Lane records and Ella records at home, and they used to listen to them all the time. So Leslie grew up, you know, hearing that music. So anyway, she's in grade school. I guess she's about 9 years old, and her teacher is getting married, and she asked Leslie to come to the reception and sing a couple of tunes with the band. And so Leslie shows up, you know, 9 years old, walks up to the band, and they're looking at her like, you know, what do you want? And the teacher says, well, this is Leslie. She's going to sing with you guys. And
Of course, they hated that. They were like, "Oh my God, this kid is going to sing."
Yeah.
You
right.
know? That's the last thing they wanted, you know.
So the piano player looks at her and says, "What are you going to sing?" And Leslie says, "What do you know?" At the age of 9,
I had a repertoire.
she's already vibing the piano player at the age of 9, you know.
Funny. What happened, by the way?
Nothing. I picked a tune. I knew my key and everything. I counted the tune off, and off we went.
They must have been happy.
Well, you know, there was one of my friends who lived down the street from me. His father had a band, and I was too young to be in the band. You know, I was underage. I was a kid, but they used to use me for the rehearsals. So I was already doing like gig stuff when I was like 7 and 8 and stuff. With band. So it was comfortable for me.
You know, I thought you were going to say you got up and you did the arrangement from the record. You know what I mean? Because, you
I
know,
wouldn't have known it.
no, you know, like kids do come across that.
That's a funny story. My funny story. It's not so funny. It was really pathetic. But long story short. When we first came here, we were just taking stuff, and we had to do this gig with a parrot sitting on top of a disco ball and an Olympic-sized swimming pool in the distance, and there was nobody in the audience.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
And
right.
I was so depressed. I thought to myself, "Is this why we came here?" Like
So
it was.
we got this call. We got asked to do this gig in the suburbs of Paris, and the guy was an American guy who'd been here for many years. He was a chef, and he liked us. And so he says, "You got to come out and sing in my club. You got to come out and sing in my club." So we get out there. You had to take like 3 buses to get there, you know.
in the snow.
And we get to the place, and we're the first ones there, and it's locked up.
Oh.
There's nobody there. It's like, okay, so now what do we do? Do we turn around and go back? Anyway, so we get into the room, and it looks like a VFW club in like 1960.
Oh God.
You know, it's got paneled walls. It's got a Duquesne PA system. Remember those?
No,
You know,
no.
those were the kind of PA systems that they used to put in schools, where the teacher.
Oh.
That's what they had up on the wall by the thing. So anyway,
So anyway, there was a disco ball with a parrot on it.
well, it was a very crazy
And no audience.
So anyway, so the end of the night comes. It's been snowing. The buses stop running.
We have no way to get home.
I say to the owner, or the guy who booked us, I say, "Listen, you know, we gotta get a taxi." And he goes, "Oh, don't worry. There's a sound guy there for this Duquesne PA." He goes, "Don't worry. The sound guy drives a cab." I said to Leslie, "There's a sentence you're never going to hear in L.A." You know.
Oh my God.
And that's
You know,
That's exactly.
I think for me the worst / funniest gig I had, for a while I was doing casuals with an Israeli band. I was like the token American singer, right? And somehow they got a New Year's Eve gig for 500 Jewish Latinos. The only music that they had in common was the Jewish music. And we played a Latin song, and then people came up and said, "Could we have a Latin song?" And I wanted to be home under the covers so badly that night. It was the worst gig ever because, you know, it was painful. It was really painful. I wish I could talk to some people who were there, just to just to see what their point of view of the night was. Oh God.
I have a quick funny one. When we first came here, I was asked to sub at the Lido.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Lido is like the classy version of the Moulin Rouge.
Oh.
It's like Vegas. And all the girls and all the guys, they're basically going around with big headdresses on and no clothes and, sparkly things all over their bodies. And they're gorgeous because, they're showgirls
Yeah.
and guys. But I was the singer. And that night that I sang, they had never seen me before. I guess they were curious because they pipe in the music down in the dressing rooms. So by the end of the night, all of the dancers were in the wings watching me. And when the curtain closed, they all ran out to hug me. And these girls are like 6'4", 6'5", and I'm 5'2". So they all ran and grabbed me, and I have all these breasts in my face. And that was hilarious. And Gerard is like, that never happens to me.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Yeah, there was a singer here years ago, an Italian singer. His family owned a very famous deli in Burbank, J something, and he was short. He was very short, and Rebecca Paris, who was a great singer from Boston, would come in. She was very tall, and they used to make all kinds of jokes because her breasts were right at his head level. There was no way around it. That was it. So there was a lot of jokes about that because they were both very funny.
I have a vocal jazz jam story that you guys appreciate. Because one for the vocal jams is the singer gets up, sings ahead, does a quick improv, and then the piano player launches into like 15 choruses by himself. Singer stands there going on, right? So one day we're at this session and this girl gets up and she sings
Lullaby of Birdland.
Lullaby of Birdland, and she sings the head through. Piano player's about to launch into his solo, and she starts scatting, and she scats a couple of choruses. And then he's about to launch into his solo, and she drops off the bandstand onto the floor and starts tap dancing. Now this poor piano player had to wait for like 6 choruses, before he could start his thing.
To sing, she was out of breath and she couldn't finish the song.
She got
because she was dancing and
Oh my God.
this happened. Tap dancing is really big here.
it's a very funny thing.
They call them claquettes.
Oh.
The claquette.
Oh, interesting. It's kind of getting, it's getting, or was getting more popular in Japan with the last time I was in Japan, I think, which was a while ago. But yeah, tap dancing. I mean, are they good tap dancers?
Yes, some of them are. Yeah.
Some of them
We
are.
were in a cotton club show and they were fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, you know
We
what?
did this
I was curious to ask you guys. Do you guys play with other people other than each other, or is it only?
Gerard was just on the Swiss border doing a gospel show with another singer.
Oh,
And I work with another band and we do festivals and we'll get calls to do different things all the time.
Leslie works with a couple of different band leaders here, so she usually goes out once or twice a month and does a festival or a concert somewhere in France.
And I work with Rhoda Scott,
Yeah.
who is, that's been amazing.
wow.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Tell the audience about Rhoda Scott.
Rhoda Scott is a jazz organist and she's known for playing the bass barefoot.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, just play bass.
Yes.
Because
How they
most
work it.
guys are playing with their left hand.
She's playing it with her feet, barefoot.
Yeah.
And when I was a child, she was really famous in our house. You know, she's
Ah,
from New Jersey. She's from the
ah,
same. She was a huge star when I was a kid,
yeah.
and I didn't even know she was in. But she's an even bigger star here. I mean, just to show you how big of a star she is, Kenny Barron was opening for her on this festival.
Wow.
Okay. So I've been very fortunate to be one of her singers, and she has several different groups, and her group, Rhoda Scott and Friends, I'm part of that. And this summer, Gerard and I are doing a gospel show with her.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've seen videos of her. She's friggin'
Amazing.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes. Still
Yeah.
going strong,
And she's just got so much soul
and energy, and
and energy, and she's, I don't know. She never seems like she's doing all that much, but it's always incredibly hip what she's playing. She always does the right thing at the right time, but it never seems like she's I don't know.
Working hard or something.
But it's always just incredibly hip,
and joyous.
and yeah, exactly,
You know,
exactly,
she's just having a blast. She's in her 80s, but she's just having a blast.
yeah.
That's so awesome. Wow. It's great. So does she live in Paris or just somewhere in France?
She lives outside of Paris.
Outside of Paris, yeah.
Yes. Because she has a family and grandkids now, and she wants to be close to them.
Her
And
her
her daughter is her manager, so
and her son-in-law is
is
a
her drummer,
drummer.
is one of her drummers.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah.
That's really good. Do you guys know Elizabeth Contamanu?
no,
Yeah,
but
well,
only from you.
yeah,
Only from you when you posted. We
yeah.
don't
Yeah.
I
think
mean, I
of her.
know the name, but we have not met
Yeah,
her.
we don't know her.
She's a really terrific singer and artist. And her kids, I think she has two children who are really great musicians who play with her and, from time to time. And yeah, it's pretty nice to have kids who are really great players, right? Who you're playing with. It's pretty awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
there's a couple people here in town that what's her name?
Oh.
That
Yeah,
singer Manu.
Dee Dee Bridgewater's daughter is here. Sidney Bechet's son is here.
Yeah, but what's that? Manu Prince, Le Prince. Her
Oh,
son
I was
plays
just going to
piano.
bring her up because Manu is a friend of Elizabeth's, and she's been in contact with me because she wants to come here in like a few weeks to. She did a project with Wayne Shorter music, and she wants to come visit him. So she's
Oh,
been kind of putting it out to, kind of make that happen. No, is one of her children a musician? I can't remember. I think so, right?
pianist who works with her.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't really know because we see her in the clubs like maybe once a year, once or twice a year. We'll see her and we'll catch up for a couple of minutes,
Yeah.
But yeah, um, but yeah, we don't do that. Leslie probably does more work on her own than I do. I would say with other bands. So,
Leslie's. Hey, let's in this last 10 minutes or so, let's listen to "Gentle Is My Love." This is a duo with you guys, and
now I'll just give you a quick warning. There's there's a spot where whoever was filming this, there were several people filming it. One of the camera people actually falls over during this tune.
oh,
So
I didn't.
wow.
yeah,
Okay, well, let's see.
you don't
You
see
can't
it,
see it.
but you hear it.
You guys can hear this, okay? Is it soft or is it okay? How's that? A little better?
No, it's
Now it's the
Okay.
soft.
Those-
I mean, this is the volume that it is. So
He's sweet and gentle, not at all like you. No matter what I do, he will always see me through. He makes it easy to surrender. So gentle, my love. He's understanding, not the way you are. If I desire a star, he would even go that far and not consider me demanding. So gentle is my love. You made me feel that I was owned by you, while you could do what you wanted to. Now I have someone who belongs to me. Now I can be what I want to be. He loves me only, not at all like you. He'd never be untrue, never cheat the way you do. So gentle is my love, I'm so lonely, because he's not like you. Do what you want to do. Now I have someone who belongs to me. Now I can be what I want to be. never be untrue, never cheat the way that you do. So gentle is my love, I'm so lonely, yes I, because he's not love.
Now, what? Who wrote that song?
You know, it's a Nancy Wilson tune, and I'm ashamed to say I don't know who wrote it, but I got it from Nancy Wilson.
Yeah, I don't recognize that song. It's beautiful, and it seems like a real Nancy Wilson kind of a song, huh?
Like, guess what I saw today?
What is the title? I'm gonna just take a quick look.
Gentle is my love.
Gentle, gentle
Gen-
is my love, Nancy Wilson. Gentle is my love. Let's see. Gentle is my love. Well, Don Ray, who wrote, right, what did he write? Star Eyes? No, he wrote, Don Ray wrote a bunch of stuff. And Bill Schluger, who I don't know. Don Ray, though, wrote, well, he wrote lyrics to You Don't Know What Love Is and Just for a Thrill and Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy. So, yeah, interesting, right?
Beautiful song.
Yeah, that's really a great song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Nancy found it, right? And then you found it, and it was great. Yeah, that was really nice. Was that a duo gig, the whole gig, or did you?
In the middle of the concert, we decided to do something just the two of us.
Yeah.
You know, and can I just say that I feel very honored that Gerard would accompany me, and he
please.
wears many hats in our house and on stage, and really he's changed my life,
Aww.
and I just feel so by my side.
Aww.
Well, you know, it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. The first time we played together, it was this gig in Laguna Beach, and I don't remember the first tune that you called.
When I fall in love, I'll
When
never
I-
forget.
Okay, so she called When I Fall in Love. First of all, you know Ron Kobayashi?
Yeah, he introduced us.
So Ron told me like a couple of years before I met her. He said, "So do you know this singer Leslie Lewis?" I said, "No, I've never heard of her." He goes, "Well, if you ever get a chance to work with her, you should do it." So she calls me for this gig, and we had known each other from the class I taught. So we get together, and I go down and meet her down there, and we play the first tune, and she sounds great, you know. And I'm like skeptical of singers, but I took the gig because Ron said you should do it. So the next tune you called, I don't remember what it was. I think it was that Sergio Mendes tune that you're doing.
Anyway,
Anyway, so I start like throwing in altered, voicings, right? She just keeps on going. Doesn't, Third tune, I start doing some metric modulations. She just keeps right on going. Doesn't, like, nothing phases her, nothing stops her, nothing makes her, you know what I mean? It's like, and I thought to myself, wow, this, this is really something, because that wasn't my experience with most singers. If you throw in like the wrong alteration at some point, it's you're going off the rails. So.
And then at the end of the night, I said, "Don't you ever do that again." Just
We know you didn't do that. Yeah. Yeah, it always cracked me up. I mean, I understand why musicians feel that way, instrumentalists feel that way, but it always would make me laugh, how instrumentalists who I didn't know would treat me. It's like, they would adjust for my time or harmony alterations. It was like, excuse me, I meant to do that actually, so don't do that. And one time I went to Yugoslavia, I had this gig and I showed up. It was one of those delayed flight things, so I show up at the gig, right? And well, first of all, the band thought I was going to be black. They had this image of a American jazz singer who was hired, who was black. And I said, no, I'm not. And so they had an attitude, So the first song I called was Cheek to Cheek, which was, that was okay with them, but I called it really up tempo. And they were like, the drummer was kind of like, whoa, oh, and then by the end of the song, I was cool,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so funny, how that works, especially like when you get in those situations where, like, I don't. Did these guys speak English?
Yeah.
Because often, a lot of times, we've run into this when we went to Japan and worked and as a duo and had a bass player and drummer on our gigs there. They were there for a couple of weeks. And these guys didn't speak English at all. We just had to sing to them what we wanted them to do, And they were great musicians. They were great. But they didn't speak English. What made me think of this was when we went to Minsk, and we had the same thing: flight delayed, get there, go on stage. The two of the guys were from Latvia. And the drummer was from Belarus.
No sound check, no rehearsal, nothing.
Just get up
get
and
on
do the
stage
thing,
and go.
And some of those guys spoke English, but not everyone. But that was
Makes you stronger. What won't kill you? Sherry Adams is here. She said she misses you, and
sure.
Hi, Sherry.
I have to get off because I have to bring my husband to a doctor appointment. But I want to thank you guys. It's been 2 hours actually, so I want to thank you so much for being on, and I hope to come see you again in Paris. And I don't know if you guys are ever going to come to LA, but if you do, let me know ahead of time, and I'll try and arrange something cool.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much.
And thank you all of you who listen.
Yeah.
Bye, Sherry. And Cheryl and everybody else. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Happy New Year too. And beautiful. Ooh. So, and thanks for being my 500th guests. And yeah, that's pretty cool. Tomorrow I have a singer who's a little bit more R&B. You might have heard of her or know her, Wendy Barnes. Does that sound familiar?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be.
She's had a very, very strong career. She's really a great singer, and a charming person. And then the next day, Wednesday, I'm going to have a celebration of 500. I don't know how I'm going to fit everybody. I can't mention everybody, but I'm doing this thing that I don't even know if I'll finish before. So anyway, we'll see what I can accomplish by Wednesday.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. It's a very cool thing you're doing.
Yes. And love to Gary.
Absolutely. And his love to you too. So bye. Have a great time. I hope it doesn't snow.
Oh my God.
Au revoir, till later. Till again.
Adios.